What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks into what should have been a friendly morning chat show, only to find himself blindsided by the most hostile interrogation of his career? George Clooney arrived on Lorraine Kelly's program expecting to talk about his humanitarian work and upcoming film projects. Instead, he stepped straight into a carefully engineered ambush that left viewers stunned and questioning everything they thought they knew about daytime TV. This is the story of how a routine promotional appearance turned into live television chaos, accusations flying, tempers boiling, and ultimately, security being called to escort one of the biggest names in entertainment off the set. Before we dive into this unbelievable clash, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below telling me what you think really pushed Lorraine towards such shocking behavior that day. The morning began like any other at the ITV studios in London. Clooney had flown in specifically for a day of promotional interviews, and Lorraine Kelly's show was supposed to be the light, easy start to his media tour. Known for his charm and quick wit, he had been on the show multiple times, always creating that relaxed, engaging energy perfect for morning television. But today felt different. The moment Clooney stepped onto the set, an unusual tension hung in the air. The crew looked uneasy, whispering to each other behind the cameras, and Lorraine herself seemed unusually stern as she reviewed her notes. "George, lovely to see you again," she said as he settled into the guest chair, though the smile she wore didn't quite reach her eyes. "But I should warn you, this interview might be a bit different from our usual chats." Ever the professional, Clooney kept his cool. "Different how? I thought we were talking about the new film and the foundation." "Oh, we'll get to that," Lorraine replied, her tone sharpening just enough to send a signal to anyone paying attention. "But first, there are some questions that need answering. Questions your team has been dodging for months." Millions of viewers tuning in with their morning coffee expected light banter. Instead, they were seconds away from watching one of the most uncomfortable TV moments in recent memory. "I'm not sure I follow," Clooney said, his trademark smile faltering. "What questions?" Lorraine leaned forward, shifting instantly from friendly host to hard-nosed interrogator. "Let's start with your recent comments about British journalism. You've been quite critical, haven't you? Calling our press intrusive, suggesting we lack the sophistication of the American media." The accusation hit like a challenge. Clooney looked genuinely caught off guard. "Lorraine, I think there's a misunderstanding. I've never said anything like that. I've always spoken positively about working in the UK and with British media." "Have you, though?" she pressed, pulling out printed articles. "Because I have several quotes here that suggest otherwise. Should I read them to our viewers?" The studio audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the Lorraine Kelly they were used to. The warmth replaced by something colder, sharper. "I'd like to see those quotes," Clooney replied, keeping his voice steady. "Because if they exist, they're either wildly out of context or they're fabricated." Lorraine's smile widened into something almost predatory. "Fabricated? That's a serious claim, George. Are you saying reputable British publications are inventing quotes now?" "I'm saying you might want to verify your sources," Clooney shot back, the diplomacy slipping. "I've never criticized British journalism as a whole. Certain outlets, yes, when they've acted unethically. But that's not the same." The tension skyrocketed. Camera operators exchanged glances, and the production team hovered nervously, clearly desperate for a commercial break, but unable to find a moment to cut away. "Unethically," Lorraine repeated, seizing on the word like a weapon. Interesting choice coming from a man who built his career on charm and connections rather than actual skill. The audience gasped, an involuntary sound that echoed across the studio. Clooney's expression hardened, the famous charm evaporating. "Excuse me?" he said quietly, dangerously. Did you just question my professional credentials on live television? Oh, I'm questioning a lot of things, Lorraine replied, clearly relishing every second. Your talent, your sincerity, your right to lecture anyone about media ethics, all while spending decades shaping the press to protect your own image. Clooney pushed back from the chair so suddenly that it scraped loudly across the studio floor. I think there's been some kind of mistake here. This isn't an interview. It's an ambush. And frankly, it's beneath both of us. But Lorraine wasn't backing down. She had clearly choreographed this moment, and she wasn't about to let him walk away before delivering every last prepared blow. Sit down, George. We're not done. Not even close. The cameras kept rolling as one of Hollywood's biggest names found himself trapped in the most uncomfortable moment of his career, facing a host who looked dead set on dismantling him live on air for reasons that no one, not the audience, not the crew, not even Clooney, could understand. I said sit down, Lorraine repeated, her voice suddenly carrying a force that surprised even her. You came here to promote your little film and your precious foundation, fine. But you're going to answer some real questions first. Clooney stayed standing, gripping the back of his chair. Real questions? What's real about this attack? You've thrown fabricated quotes and personal insults at me. This isn't journalism, Lorraine. It's character assassination. Character assassination? Lorraine laughed, but the sound was hollow. That's rich, coming from a man who spent his entire career assassinating the character of anyone who criticizes him. Tell me, George, how many journalists have you blacklisted over the years? The audience was frozen, watching this surreal meltdown unfold. Production assistants whispered into their headsets, desperately trying to figure out how to salvage a live show spiraling completely out of control. Blacklisted? Clooney's voice rose. What are you talking about? I've never blacklisted anyone. This is ridiculous, Lorraine. What's this really about? This is about accountability, she shot back, standing now too, matching his stance. This is about a privileged Hollywood elite who thinks he can waltz into our country, use our media whenever it benefits him, and then trash us behind our backs. I have never insulted the British media or this country, Clooney said firmly. I own a home here. My wife practiced law here. We support British charities. This accusation is completely baseless. Lorraine waved a hand dismissively. Your wife. Yes, let's talk about Amal, shall we? How convenient that you married a human rights lawyer just when your image needed an overhaul. Was that calculated, or just a happy coincidence? The audience gasped, loudly this time. Even the camera operators looked stunned. Dragging a guest's family into a televised ambush was a line almost no interviewer crossed. Clooney's face blanched, then flushed with anger. You leave my wife out of this. Whatever issue you have with me, you do not bring my family into it. Oh, everything's fair game when you're a public figure, Lorraine pressed relentlessly. You're the one who always said celebrities forfeit privacy when they play the fame game. So let's discuss your marriage, your politics, your foundation that barely seems to do any real work. Stop, Clooney said, his voice low and dangerous. Stop right now. You're throwing out accusations that are not only false, but potentially libelous. I came here in good faith to talk about my work, and you've turned it into some sort of personal vendetta. Personal? Lorraine's eyes gleamed with something like triumph. This isn't personal, George. This is professional. This is holding you accountable for years of hypocrisy and manipulation. What hypocrisy? Clooney demanded. What manipulation? You keep firing accusations with no evidence, no context, no explanation. This is insane. Lorraine grabbed another stack of papers. Let's talk about your foundation's financials, shall we? Fascinating reading, George. Lots of money coming in, not much going out. That's a lie, Clooney said flatly. Our financial records are public, transparent. Every penny is documented and goes directly to the causes we support. You're spreading false information on live television. Am I? Lorraine countered. Or am I the only one asking the questions your team has been working overtime to silence? The confrontation had gone completely off the rails. Viewers across the UK sat in stunned silence as one of their most familiar morning hosts launched into a barrage of increasingly extreme accusations against one of the world's most respected actors. "You know what?" Clooney said finally, yanking off his microphone. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this. You've ambushed me with lies, dragged my wife into it, questioned my integrity, and smeared my humanitarian work. I'm done." "You don't get to decide when this interview ends," Lorraine snapped. "You came on my show. You leave when I say so." Clooney stared at her, shocked. "Are you threatening me on live television? You do know millions of people are watching, right? They can see exactly what you're doing." "What I'm doing," Lorraine said, her voice rising, "is my job. Real journalism. Something you clearly can't handle when you're not controlling the narrative." "Real journalism," Clooney repeated, disbelief etched across his face. "Real journalism requires facts, sources, evidence. All you're doing is throwing vague accusations and personal attacks. This isn't journalism. It's a witch hunt." The studio had descended into chaos. Producers rushed about, crew members exchanged frantic glances, and the audience sat frozen, witnessing what was quickly becoming one of the most infamous moments in television history. "A witch hunt?" Lorraine's laugh was bitter, sharp. That's what powerful men always say when someone finally stands up to them, when someone refuses to be charmed or manipulated. "Well, I'm not charmed, George. I see right through you." "See through me to what?" Clooney challenged, his voice calm but sharp. "What exactly do you think you see? Because from where I'm standing, all I see is a television host completely losing control on live TV." "I see a fraud," Lorraine said, her words cutting through the air like a knife. "I see a man whose entire public persona is built on lies and manipulation, and I see someone who's about to be exposed for exactly what he is." Clooney shook his head in disbelief. "This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. You've accused me of being unethical, untalented, manipulative, dishonest about my charitable work, and calculating in my personal relationships, all without a single shred of evidence." "The evidence is your reaction," Lorraine shot back. "The evidence is how angry you get when someone finally asks tough questions. The evidence is your complete inability to handle any criticism." "Criticism?" Clooney's voice rose. "This isn't criticism, this is slander. And you're doing it on live television to millions of viewers. Do you have any idea the kind of legal trouble you're opening yourself up to?" "Legal trouble?" Lorraine's tone was dripping with mockery. "Is that a threat, George? Going to sue me for asking questions? How very Hollywood of you. When you can't control the narrative, you call the lawyers." "It's not a threat," Clooney replied, deadly serious. "It's a fact. You've made multiple defamatory statements on live television. Statements that could seriously damage my reputation and my work. Yes, my lawyers will review this footage." "Good," Lorraine said, crossing her arms defiantly. "Let them review it. Let the whole world see. Maybe it's time someone held you accountable for once in your privileged life." The studio director was frantically gesturing from the control room, trying to signal for a commercial break. But Lorraine's eyes never left Clooney. She was focused, like a predator circling her prey. "Accountable for what?" Clooney demanded. "You keep saying that word, but you haven't specified a single thing. Not one concrete example, not one verifiable fact. Just vague accusations and personal attacks." "How about your environmental hypocrisy?" Lorraine fired back. "Flying around the world in private jets while lecturing everyone about climate change. How about your political grandstanding while living in luxury mansions? How about using your fame to influence political processes you don't understand?" Clooney's patience snapped. "That's it. I'm done. This is the most unprofessional, unethical interview I've ever experienced. You've crossed every line of journalistic integrity, and I will not participate in this character assassination any longer." He turned to walk off the set, but Lorraine called after him. "Running away, George? Can't handle a little scrutiny? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can dish it out, but you can't take it." Clooney stopped and faced her, composure finally cracking. "I'm not running from scrutiny. I'm walking away from a delusional television host having a breakdown on live TV. This isn't scrutiny, Lorraine. This is a personal vendetta, and I refuse to be your punching bag." "Personal vendetta?" Lorraine's voice climbed to a shout. "This is about integrity, about truth, about not letting celebrities manipulate the media and the public." "Manipulate the media?" Clooney's voice was incredulous. "You mean like what you're doing right now, ambushing a guest with false accusations and personal attacks? If anyone's manipulating the situation here, it's you. Creating some viral moment at my expense." The audience was completely silent, transfixed by this unprecedented meltdown. Many were already filming on their phones, sensing they were witnessing television history unfold. "Viral moment?" Lorraine scoffed harshly. "This isn't about going viral. This is about journalism. Real journalism. Something you clearly have never experienced. Real journalism involves facts," Clooney shot back. "It involves research, verification, balanced reporting. What you've done here today is the exact opposite. This is tabloid sensationalism at its worst." "Don't lecture me about journalism," Lorraine snapped. "I've been doing this longer than you've been pretending to be an activist. I know what real journalism looks like. It doesn't involve ambushing guests with fabricated controversies." "Fabricated?" She leaned closer, her voice dropping into a dangerous tone. "Everything I've said today is based on careful research and investigation. Maybe you're just not used to anyone doing their homework before interviewing you." "Then show me the homework," Clooney challenged. "Show me the sources. Show me the evidence. Show me anything that backs up even one of your accusations, because all I've heard are empty claims and personal attacks." "The evidence is your behavior," Lorraine insisted. "The evidence is how you react to every question. The evidence is your inability to handle criticism without getting defensive and threatening legal action. I'm defensive because you've attacked my character, my work, my family, and my integrity," Clooney said, his voice heavy with anger. "Any reasonable person would react the same way under this kind of unprovoked assault." "Unprovoked?" Lorraine's eyes flashed. "Your very presence here is a provocation. You assumed you could waltz onto my show and get the fawning interview you're used to. Not today, George. Not on my show." By now, security personnel had appeared at the edges of the set, summoned by the production team. The situation had escalated far beyond normal television protocol. "You're having me escorted out for refusing to participate in your ambush? This is unbelievable," Clooney exclaimed. "You're being escorted for being disruptive and unable to handle basic journalistic inquiry," Lorraine declared. "Basic journalistic inquiry?" Clooney's tone was incredulous. "You've accused me of being talentless, unethical, manipulative, financially dishonest, and politically calculating, all without evidence. That's not journalism. That's a hit job." "Call it whatever you want," Lorraine said coldly. "This is my show, and you don't control the narrative here like you do everywhere else." As security moved closer, Clooney raised his hands. "I don't need an escort. I'm leaving voluntarily. This has been the most bizarre and unprofessional experience of my career, and I want no part of it." "Good," Lorraine called after him. "Don't let the door hit you on the way out, and next time you try to manipulate the British media, remember this moment." Clooney paused, at the edge of the set, and turned back one last time. "I genuinely hope you get whatever help you need, Lorraine. What happened here today wasn't journalism, it wasn't entertainment, it was just sad." With that, George Clooney walked off the set of Lorraine Kelly's show, leaving behind one of the most shocking moments in live television history. The cameras kept rolling as Lorraine stood alone, breathing heavily, while the stunned audience sat in complete silence. What did you think of this incredible clash? Was Lorraine Kelly out of line, or was she finally asking the tough questions other interviewers were too intimidated to ask? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more shocking celebrity encounters that the mainstream media doesn't want you to see.